Let's take a deeper dive into permissions, covering more on summaries, conditional permissions and how to get around them, best practices for rolling out new permission roles, and lastly, per-page permission controls. First, let's dissect permission summaries. Each role has a permission summary as the first drop-down listed, and let's look at the artist role as an example. Within each summary, we see bullet point lists for what's allowed, not allowed, or what's a condition, meaning a condition must be in place in order for a person to see or do something. The summary progresses in the following order. First, we see entities the role is allowed or not allowed to create. This list is determined by the Entity dropdown Create checkbox. Second, comes the entities that this group can see and not see. Most roles, by default, have a blanket "This group is allowed to see all entities by default" statement, meaning they can see all entities listed in the Entity Permission dropdown unless otherwise specified in the section just below it. After that, we see any conditions listed for seeing these entities. Then, similar to the Entities section above, we see allow, deny, and conditional rules, but this time for specific fields. After these conditions, we'll see what artists can and cannot retire, along with any conditions for retiring entities. Lastly, we'll see a breakdown of advanced permissions and app permissions. Now that we know the basics around conditions, let's dive deeper into them. Remember, conditional permissions are identifiable when you hover over them and see Custom or a tooltip. In both cases, they are outlined in the summary of each permission role. Conditional permissions are more common in the artist and vendor roles, and any roles based on those. In the case of the task status field, let's check out the summary after reading this tooltip. We can always scroll to find the task status field within a condition, or we can simply conduct a browser search using Command F on our keyboard and type task followed by the field code. In the condition summary, the syntax for fields is entity.fieldcode. In this case, that's task.sg_status_list. If we're unsure of the field code, we can always look it up via the Fields page. Now that we've located the condition, let's uncover what it means. First, let's click to expand if we haven't yet, which will make this easier to read. Before we dive in, let's cover some terminology that will help us read these a little easier, since admittedly, they can be tricky at first. The logical operator can be set to OR, where any one condition can be met, or it can be set to AND, meaning all conditions must be met to update the field. The path will reflect the field code. In this case, these are the assigned to and reviewer fields. Relation as is tells us the value must match exactly the condition versus is not or contains. And logged in user token represents the current user who is logged in and interacting with Shotgun. And just above, the type outlines the entity type of that valid value, which is human user, aka the person entity. Now that we have our bearings, we can see here that there is an OR operator in effect for 1, 2, 3, 4 conditions that are applied to this field, which tells us that they can update the task status field if they meet one or more of the following conditions. They are the person assigned to the task, or they are the reviewer assigned to the task, or they are in a group that is assigned to the task, or they are in a group that is assigned as the reviewer on the task. Conditions can take some getting used to, but after some practice, we'll get the hang of it. If these rules are problematic for any reason, reach out to support for further discussion. So, how do we get around having a conditional permission applied to a role? At our studio, we want to have a lead role that can update the status of any task, and not just those that have been assigned to an artist or reviewer. In that case, we can just create the lead role based on a role that doesn't have as many conditions, like manager. Then, we can go into the newly created role and restrict more things where necessary. Now that we have our new lead role, we'll want to make sure we give it a good test run prior to rolling it out. First, we can create a user or assign an existing one to the lead role and assume their identity after discussing with them. From there, we can perform their basic workflow functions to ensure things are working properly. And iterate from there. After we run our initial checks, it's best to roll out the permission role to a smaller subset of people at first, and then adjust before rolling out to all the leads. This will help us catch any gotchas and ensure a smooth transition. In general, as a best practice, we recommend duplicating roles to create a safe sandbox for testing bigger changes, and doing this phased rollout. Lastly, permissions can also be controlled per page for custom pages and per view for any page. In Design Page mode, just select the Page tab on a custom page to adjust who can see the page. And for views, select the View tab, and we can control access to views per permission role from there.